Hello, right, today we're going to talk about conscious leadership. Now, consciousness is bandied around a lot. I talk about that quite a bit. Conscious leadership, conscious business, and I'm also going to include conscious living are all part of a bigger ecosystem. Now, I really want to kind of work through some of the fundamentals of this. Now, there's some really good books on this and people that have created some of these systems, which are really worthwhile diving into, but I'm going to give you an overview and how that relates to when we are creating mission-driven businesses and indeed when we look at million-dollar missions and why we want to do that, and little tools and tips of where you can kind of discern where you are, where the people you hang out with are, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go from the top. So conscious leadership has mainly got 4 key areas. And I'm going to go into some of the things that you'll find are really useful in sort of denoting things out there as well as inside. So if I just run through the bottom up. So conscious leadership, this is when, and I should really put the word life here. Life is happening to me. So to me, people are going to be things like people in victim mindset and they're unconscious. That means that they will be people that blame everything externally. Oh, the government's doing this. I didn't have that as a child. This person's done that to me. And it's blame and it's victim and so on. Now, there's a big caveat there. This is not about excluding people's traumas and experiences and transmuting them. It is about staying stuck in a particular vibration. And as you see, I've done an arrow here going up and down. So that means that they are in a lower vibrational frequency that only your own conscious choice can get you out of. It's not something someone can do to you. It's something you do for yourself. So that's really key to remember. The next one is by me. This is very popular in Western society, very popular indeed. It's created from school upwards. So this is driven by outcomes and it's external. So if you think about really going back to school, what grades did you get? How well are you behaved? What groups are you a part of? What accolades have you got? What kind of job are you going to get? What kind of university are you going to go to? Where do you live? What do you drive? How much money have you got? You know, these are all external outcomes. Now, consciously speaking, in and of themselves are not necessarily a bad thing. We're not talking about good and bad in that sense. However, they do keep people here, which is what we call in conscious leadership, below the line. Below the line is a lower level of consciousness, and it is really keeping you small, is the easiest way to put it. Consciousness by nature is expansiveness, it's growth, it's about possibility and potential, and it's about collaboration and communication and creativity. So it's very expansive. Anything that is restrictive and brings down the vibration is really not something we should be running to. We want to be running from it. So now let's go above the line. This next group of people, life is happening through me, tends to be more spiritual. This is a little conundrum, because we can be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual beings for sure. However, there's a little caveat to just put there. There is a portion of society that has got locked up into spirituality and will say things like, through me, I am getting a download, this is coming through me, something is speaking to me. That is actually pushing their vibe down. They think it is pushing their vibe up, but it isn't. I'll tell you for why when we get to the top one, but just for now, stick with me. So if it's through me, I tend to be in a little bit more flow. I tend to be a little bit more, I'm out of these. But as humans, remember this, as human beings, we are all, likely to have been done some kind of dalliance dance with with all of these at any given moment. And the key thing to remember here isn't about beating anybody up, pointing fingers, judging, oh, I'm at a higher level than you, I'm more conscious than you. It's nothing to do with that, because this is about you on your own, yourself. This is just merely a little grid so that if you catch yourself thinking, feeling, saying, habitually living in certain things, you can catch yourself and go, oh, I'm a little bit in to me mode. What can I do to get myself out of that? Oh, look, I'm in push mode. I'm pushing, I'm trying, I'm driving, I'm forcing. What can I do to elevate me? Through me, things are coming through me, but I'm noticing that I'm externally looking for things where I'm going, I've been guided, my spirit tells me this, whatever, I've channeled that. Be careful of that. Through me, in terms of your intuition, is fine and is where you want to be in, but just be careful and look out for external things coming in that make you feel that it's coming through you, because they can be a little bit of a devil, not necessarily the truth. Let's get all the way up here now to as me. As me is a pure state of consciousness. As me is where we are one with the universe. So when we talk about the collective consciousness, when we talk about one love, one being, one, we all talk about these kind of things, but are we actually 100% of the time existing within that framework? The reason why we know we're not is because we can externally see what we've created on the planet, and whilst ever we see things out there that are not from here in terms of coming from a place of love, we know we've got work to do. And again, it's not judgmental, it's not pointing fingers, it's not saying, oh my God, I must try harder. It's just a little like analytical piece of data that we can look at and go, okay, we've got some way to go. Now, here I've put the laws of nature, because when you are as me, as consciousness, as universal principles living by the laws of nature, there tends to be this idea up here that there are no problems, there are no challenges, there are no questions, there are no answers. And the reason for that is because if I am experiencing my human existence through the cosmos at any given time, I just am. Now, the difficulty comes because then we have a mind. And then that mind will start thinking. And then what happens with the mind is, obviously we've all been brought up. So therefore we've got limiting beliefs, we've got ancestral patterning, we've got things that we've took on board by our own life experiences, we've got things that we have been told to be fearful of, or so on and so forth. So basically the whole piece of humanity, if we just put it over here, starts off as purity, as a law of nature, because it just is, it can't be anything else but that. However, over time it's got filled up. Now you might have a little bit of corner here where we're a little bit more away, but for most of us we're getting pretty full up. Consciousness therefore means that we are aware of all of this, and we're aware of these things and aware of all the different parameters, so that at any given time we can stop and look within, and that we us ourselves connect to our source connection, which is not an external factor. It's not another person, it's not anything, it is us and our collective connection to consciousness and the cosmos, the universe, whatever, however you want to word it. And that it is us basically unlocking the keys to our inner alchemy. Now we have an inner alchemy department, and that might sound a bit counterintuitive. Well, how can you have an inner alchemy department if you're supposed to do this yourself? I'll tell you why. This bit. Oftentimes we can't see the wood for the trees. So therefore, inside this piece here, there might be a whole mix of experiences, traumas, challenges, life, and so on and so forth. And we often need help and support in just becoming the observer of them, so that we can transmute them. And there's various different tools and things to do it. Most of them, the things inside the inner alchemy department, are just basically tools and vehicles for us to see that which is within, so that we can turn the key to transmute it, to heal it, and that's why it's called inner alchemy, because it is actually us doing it. It's just that left to our own devices, half the time it's like, if you're talking to somebody about a particular topic and they've got an issue, let's say, and they're telling you their problem and this is what's happening at work or in a relationship or in a family or something, and you're objectively listening to it, it's very easy for you to then go, oh, okay, well, have you tried this? Have you thought about that? Well, maybe I don't think that's quite fair. Maybe you should say this. And it's very easy for us to jump in because we're the observer, and we're observing most of the time without an emotional attachment. If we become more emotional, then that will really affect the way that we respond, because we might respond with anger if somebody close to us has been hurt. We might get defensive for them, you see. So the emotions will come into it. However, if we are able to be objective and look at a situation, then we're able to give our opinion because it's not actually us and it's not affecting us directly. However, when it's things inside your own life and your own experiences, some people, there's two different issues we have, and I'm going to label it ego. And I'll tell you why I'm going to label it ego. A, because everybody knows what it is and it's easy, and secondly, because I'm going to just divide it in half here and say sometimes the ego, as we know, is ruled by fear. So the ego is going to stop you doing things because it's scared. It wants to keep control. It doesn't want you to look stupid. It's doing that. And the other thing is, if ego at the other side of it obviously helps. If we look at leadership and people around the world, we know that people with a real high level of ego, it can turn them the opposite. So we've got here fear and control, but we've also got over this part greed and control. So there's like two different ends of the spectrum. And that's why for me, oftentimes in a dojo situation, I would personally be kind of keen on dimming down the ego, but not necessarily a destruction of the ego, because I understand the benefits, the fact that each of us has things innately given to us by nature for a reason. So it's not necessarily about destroying things, it's just about understanding them and having a really acute awareness of where you are on here. Because balanced in the middle, where you're not fear-led and you're not greed-led and you're not trying to control and you're not trying to dictate and you're not trying to judge, and you're just in the middle, acting as me with complete kind of synergy with the laws of nature, then your ego's fine. It's going to be healthy. It's going to be in balance, and it's not going to be any kind of issue that needs us to attack it. So the reason why I want to kind of talk about this very specifically between leadership and then bring in the whole thing about conscious living is that the three things, when we say conscious living here, conscious leadership and conscious business, we inside the dojo focus on conscious business. However, again, I'm going to go back to the inner alchemy. The point of having that other section is because it's not business for business's sake, i.e. I want to create business, I want to make loads of money, me. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with your purpose, it's to do with the mission, it's to do with what you feel you're here to do. Okay, and first and foremost, it has to start with you. It has to start in the conscious living department. So therefore, that's why these are important, and that's why I put life in here, because you are in the driving seat of everything that you do in every facet of your whole life. And I want to kind of also add in, because we are multifaceted, multidimensional beings, we have to remember as well that we're not necessarily equal in all the different areas, meaning we could be somebody who's living as me, and I might be all purely living by nature's law in my life, let's say, but in terms of a business, maybe I'm working in a company, or maybe I'm working with other people that are really, really capitalist mindset, and they've got a completely different strategy and way of being and so on and so forth. So the thing is, I could be coming out of this and I could be down here at by me, because they're pressurizing me for results and for this and that, for the other. So that's an extreme example, but I just want to demonstrate that you could be operating at different levels in different areas of your life without you even being consciously aware of it. So bringing the awareness is the point of doing this today, is so that we can see, okay, so how am I living first? So that's me. So that's all me. Okay, how am I leading? Leading is of me first before I get to other people. Now I also look at how am I then living and leading within that business? Are these things in a nice, healthy cycle where they're all feeding themselves in a really positive, high vibration, high frequency way as me with the laws of nature? I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but most of us aren't that. For the simple reason, if 7 billion people on the planet were of that, we would be living in a completely different planet Earth. It would not look like it does now. Now, Mother Nature, the Earth itself, would look the same, if not better, because it would be minus the destruction that humans have brought. So, for example, geography, boundaries, borders, passports, races, genders, constructs, wars, whatever, everything that's I'm just going to label as negative that humans have done to the planet. Imagine if we eradicated all that, what would it actually look like? It's actually quite hard to imagine, and I'll tell you for why, because our history tells us that we've so far been incapable of it. We're incapable of leading ourselves, let alone leading anybody else. So that's why I say there's work to do. However, it's not all doom, because the point is, if you are in a mission-driven business and you like literally feel like you've come to this planet, you've come here for a reason, and you want to serve and do something transformational, it's because you're part of a group that's here to do just that. So we shouldn't get overwhelmed and kind of knocked back by that. We should be a little bit more like, okay, this is the work, this is the roll your soul sleeves up and get on with the work. But I really want to bring it back to this whole me first business, because you've got to really understand those 4 levels and really understand where you are on a day-to-day basis. What I would like to recommend is, whether you've got a diary, a journal, or some kind of method of tracking, it's actually something that I think we should create and put in one of our little workbooks actually in the dojo, because I think it'd be really cool. But really from whether it's like 4 times a day or something, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever o'clock, and you track it and see on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, and let's see where we're at. And again, no judgment, doesn't matter. If you feel down here because a load of crap's happened to you, you're human, it's the way it is. If you suddenly notice yourself, you've gone in there because you're pressured, you've got bills to pay or people hassling you for things, you're human, it's the way it is. If you're in here but you're externally looking for all kinds of gadgets and widgets and shamans and people to come and tell you you're special, okay, it's fine. Just move on from it, okay? And if we can then see where we are on an individual basis, then we're in a position to look at how we are leading. And then from the leadership, we can look at how we are then bringing that into those businesses. So the reason why we have those 4 different departments, and very stoically that way, is because the inner alchemy is a full-time job. It's a full-time pursuit. And I don't care what anybody says, in the sense of like, oh, well, you can do this course and you can meditate or something, and now you're going to be at such a cosmic level and you've never got to do it again. It's bullshit, honestly. It is a continual work in process, always. Progress, process, whichever, and it doesn't matter, that's fine, okay? So we are allowed to go up and down and up and down. We are wanting to shoot for being a little bit more steady Eddie with it, but that takes time. It's a practice, and that's why I think a lot of people shy away from it, because people too many times today, one thing that's a negative about digital is digital's made everybody go like that. And that's a bit of a problem, because when it comes to practicing things, I don't care how many life hacks you can pack into your day, but have you ever seen an Olympic gold medalist, a concert pianist, gosh, a Nobel Peace Prize winner? I'm just using extreme examples. Have you ever seen any of those master something in 4 minutes with a life hack? It's ridiculous. Part of the pleasure and the journey of being human is the exploration, is the journey, is the doing, not the finished item, because then we tend to be a little bit this way. By me, next goal, next goal, next goal, next goal. We tend to be a little bit driven like that. So when it comes back to this, and we're looking at those 4 different areas, the inner alchemy is the constant and never-ending work within to be able to be self-regulated, self-aware, conscious, and be able to keep bringing yourself back up to that high vibration, high frequency perspective without the need of anybody else's help. But to begin with, we all need the help and support, because we need reminders, we need tools, we need something that's not necessarily an external doing it for us. They're just like crutches. They're just like little reminders. They're just like little teachings. And then separate to that, running simultaneously, is almost like the conscious business kind of academy, if you like, learning what conscious living, leadership and business truly are, and not just a greenwash label. Because if we just stick on our business as, oh yeah, I'm a conscious business, I mean, what does that even mean? So we really need to have a thorough understanding of living and leadership and business to be able to be that which we say we are. And it's not just a little trendy tag to stick on something. Pure consciousness is doing the work every day and showing up for it no matter what happens. Consciousness is about taking sovereign responsibility for your level and frequency and doing everything that you can to clean it, clear it, purify it, keep it high. That's on you. And then when we come into conscious business models, what is a conscious business model? So that's why when I talk about things like mission maps, it's creating a bespoke mission map for you that relates to you and your life. Not one for Bob down the road who's got a completely different business, lifestyle and idea to you. That's ridiculous. It just doesn't work. And then when we move into creative media, it's then taking all of this that is you, that is the inherent who you are, who you've come here to be, what message you've got, and crafting that in such a way that the frequency is so high so that when you meet it and see it, you are excited by it, you are connected to it, you are at one with it. And again, I'm going back to frequency. It's all one long moving piece of energy from within to without. And then the whole thing with digital marketing, that people's, particularly spiritual people, will be, oh no, I just need to be and everybody will come to me. Okay, maybe. However, I will always argue that, because I'm going to say, if you are truly here for a mission, you're going to do everything within your power to get that in front of the right people. And yes, some of that can be the whole magnetic marketing thing. It can be the fact that your frequency and vibration is so high, those people naturally come to you. Awesome, fantastic. However, we're still going to be doing outbound method. We're still going to be creating inbound methods. We're still going to create a nice holistic pie. I tend to often say to people, you'll see online the general mass idea is this. I'm going to recommend that, which is a complete opposite. Now, that's not just a rebellious thing of like, oh, they're all doing this, so we want to go down our own path. It's just because for us, in terms of mission driven, we're different. So therefore, what suits the masses doesn't suit us. So we have to look at it in a completely different manner. And I hope that makes a little bit of sense, but I really want you today to take this whole thing idea about what conscious leadership really is and about navigating it through yourself, because I can assure you the more you can get deeper with that within and then connect it to your mission as to what is supposed to be coming through you and out of you as me, as one with consciousness and nature, it will enable you to sort of have the penny drop and go, oh, I can see why it's really important, and why maybe some of the things that I've tried in the past don't really work for me. Maybe why I've joined other programs or courses or teachers, and some of their stuff's been great and it's been useful and educational, but it hasn't quite fit. And it wouldn't do, because mission driven is different. And I do want to finish it by saying, why do I go on about $1 million missions? Because it sounds like this, doesn't it? It sounds like by me, driven by an external outcome. And to a degree, it would look that way, yes. However, because we're doing it as me, it is about reaching the highest outcome as you that is possible. Now, we all know that the cosmos, the world, the earth is abundant. There isn't any lack. There isn't any fear. There isn't anything. It is by natural, by laws of nature, an abundant thing, i.e. creativity, seeds, things grow, blossom, die off, reborn, regenerate, renew, etc. We know that. Therefore, why cap yourself? Why say, oh, I'm mission driven, but I'll be happy if I get to here and put myself in a nice little box? Is that what the universe is here to express? If you look at the magnitude of beauty, if you've been lucky enough to travel to amazing destinations around the planet, do you think Mother Nature's going, ooh, I think a bit overshot myself on this one. I think I better just dumb it down a bit. Just dumb it down a bit. I was a bit excessive with that volcano or that waterfall or whatever it was that I just designed. Okay, so no, we don't want to limit ourselves. We want to go up. Now, I use million as just a marker. So your particular mission might get to 200k, and that might be you maxed out because that coincides with your lifestyle, the way you want to run it and what you want to do. Brilliant. However, we might also be able to find things for you that are additional partnerships or revenues or something that continues to get your message out there without any necessarily further labor from you, but increases your message reach, which will then increase the income back in, which then increases the impact back out. And the impact back out from a conscious business, so we haven't covered that today, is that conscious businesses give. Conscious businesses don't do this. Here's my bank full of dollars and pounds and euros and whatever currency, and it's packing itself up for me. Thanks. Conscious business has its lid open, and it comes in and it goes out. And where it goes out to, of course, some to you, to team, to overheads and all the usuals. Then obviously we want some profit so that we can reinvest it to make it bigger and better, should we want to, or more automations or whatever it might be to make it better. And then up here is what we give back with. And most people that have a conscious business will have causes, charities, things that they massively heartfelt support, and they love the idea of, say, making $1 million and then cutting a check for 100,000 to one charity, or setting up a foundation, or doing whatever the heck you want to do with it. So $1 million is a marker, because A, we don't want to limit ourselves down here, we want to keep going, but $1 million is by no means the finite thing. We don't stop here. We'll keep on going. However, that is right for a percentage of mission-driven business owners, and it would not necessarily be for everybody else. So $1 million is just like an in-between marker. Some people may go on to 10, 50, 100, whatever, who cares? It doesn't really matter. But what does matter is your first $1 million is always the hardest to get, because you have to turn into the person who's a millionaire. And for most people, if you weren't born into that, you aren't naturally that. So you've got to go through a lot of inner alchemy to be able to hit through the ceilings of making 100, 200, 300, 500, 700, $1 million. And that, for a lot of people, let's go back here to the to me thing, is going through a lot of limiting beliefs, all kinds of traumas, money dramas, all sorts of things. So we have to clear all this stuff out of the way to enable you to rise up. And the million is usually just that general consensus that people have a ceiling on. Some people are going to have a ceiling on 50 or 100 or 200. The ceiling's going all the way up, depending on your upbringing and your experiences and what you've made to date. But if you haven't made a million to date, you're going to have to do some inner alchemy to be able to turn into the person that has $1 million business. And then you're going to have to do it again for 2 million, for 5 million, for 10 million, for whatever. And the same if it's 50,000, 100,000, the money, the number's irrelevant. It's just more about the growth. So therefore we need that combination of that pure consciousness work in the elevation of us and our inner alchemy, coupled with the models and the designs of conscious businesses that are in a modern digital era, and how we design and build those online, and how we aesthetically share them, and then how we get them to get in front of the right people. So I hope that's been useful. And I know I made a mess again. I always make a mess, don't I, in these boards? But have a little go at doing that with above the line. And I didn't sort of say here, but you know, this is, you know, above the line, and this is below the line. So you can just watch. You can just watch where you go in the daytime. And if you dip it below and go up, as I say, just bringing your conscious awareness to it and doing this on a daily basis will naturally, your magnet will start pushing you up. So you'll get to the point eventually, whereas anything that starts to pull you down, you will feel it. And you'll be a bit like, ooh, I'm not wanting to go down there. And you'll naturally be like, you know, like a, what do you call it, life buoy things that bob up and down on the ocean. You'll eventually just start to do that. Doesn't mean that occasionally you're not going to go under. Something might happen and you do, but you'll be able to sort it out quicker. So any questions as usual, if you want to jump in on the call with any of us to have conversations about any of this stuff and how we can help. But either way, I hope this has served you today and given you some good information on conscious leadership, and I will see you next time. All the best. Take care. Bye bye.